Okay, so thank you for having me here. I'm really happy to be here. As Werner was saying,
Presentation mode?
oh yeah, sure. So as Werner was saying, I'm a guitarist and composer and also a computer programmer from Montreal. And I've been working on Orfeo since August, so it's actually in its infancy, it's quite young still. But I find it kind of promising, and although I can't show you something really mature yet, I can show you some interesting basics. The reason I did Orfeo was because I stopped composing for a long time, and the reason was mainly my workflow. It was hard for me to test ideas quickly. Sometimes you want to test something, you put it in Finale, for example. It can take a long time to input. And then you want to change something, it might take a long time to change it as well. And with Orfeo, my goal was to make a language that was much easier to use, much faster to test stuff as prototyping, mainly for composition. That was my main idea at first. I wanted to be like if I'm playing with Legos. When I was a child, just assembling Legos quickly. This is not good, I put it aside, I try something else, and move like that. So my the things I wanted in a language was I wanted to be very high level with abstract data, kind of like max and pure data. So the data in Orfeo can be anything you want. The application decides what to do with the data once you give it. I also wanted the language to be musically organized, and I wanted to look like a notation. So like when you look at Orfeo, it kind of feels like it's a score itself. So you can actually read Orfeo very easily. And I wanted a very clean and succinct syntax. So let's look at the very high level abstract data part. So the Orfeo program needs an application that will use the code that Orfeo creates. And the application can be anything, music notation, it could be composition, audio synthesis, it could be MIDI control. You could use it also for superscript for other languages. Any application that needs to organize data in time could use Orfeo. This is examples of data that you could use in Orfeo. You could put a note like a D sharp. You could put a slash chord. You could put different notes to create a chord. You could have, for example, here, bell, snare could refer to wave samples. And then you could say, I want the volume to be 99, a pan of 0.4. You could give it a string, hello Salzburg. You could give it a hash. So let's talk about how it's organized to be musical. One way we could think of would be to have a simple timeline with our data on the right side here. So we have like an oscillator at 440 at time 0, and then at time 0.75 we have an oscillator at 220. This would kind of be like C-sound, a C-sound score, and we don't want this. It's not very flexible. What we want is something that's proportional, just like a real music score. So how do we do this? This is the bread and butter of Orfeo. It's the music expression. Orfeo is a functional programming language like Lisp. So it's basically music expressions that can be nested one inside each other. So how is a music expression done? You have the delimiters around it, and then you have the column 2 here is the number of units that the expression will take. And here ABC are 3 different data tokens. So what we have here is basically we have 3 data tokens going inside a time of 2 units. It's kind of like a 3 against 2 in the traditional notation. But we don't write the 3 in Orfeo. It depends how many tokens you put. You never need to put 1, that's a default. So 1 ABC is the same as just writing ABC, and that's important later for how simple the notation can be. So you can do nesting. For example, here, CD is nested inside the higher music expression. So it does like a triplet, and a CD would be like if you had 2 notes in one of the triplet notes. So here are some examples. So we have a quarter note, 2 8 notes, a quarter, and 2 8s again. So here we can see, I just wrote A's here for simplicity, just to see how the notation is written down rhythmically. So it takes in four units of time, so it's like a 4/4 measure, and we simply put other expressions to write the 8 notes. Same thing if we want a triplet, or if we want to have 8 notes. Here we go deeper again to have 2 nested expressions. So we can write quarter note, 8 note, and 16 notes. Here we will have a triplet over 2 beats. So you can see it's kind of easy to write simple rhythms in Orfeo. But I also wanted to be able to write complicated rhythms, not only simple ones. So for example, here, you can use fractions for your times. So here, the A is 0.9. It'd be like 0.9 of a quaver. 0.8, 0.7, 0.6, so it's getting faster and faster. You can also use time signatures. So here we have like a 4/4, and then a 1/6 would be one part of a triplet, not a complete triplet, and then 3/4. So you could write a whole score using time signatures if that's what you prefer. It's maybe easier to read. Time signatures can also have fractions, so you can write things that are completely unplayable by humans if you want. You could also use minutes and seconds to write your time. In this case, it's not really proportional anymore, but this can be useful for different ideas. Okay, this example. Here we have nested tuplets. You can nest as deep as you want. So for example, over 4 beats, we have 7 beats. Then we go deeper, and then so we have cow, do, L to start the septuplet, and then the 5 other notes are going to be inside 4 notes, 4 units of measure. So then we have the half note takes EU takes 2, GNU takes 2, and then we have the triplet ram, roll, yak. Another thing we can do is variables. So here we have a triplet cat, and we put it inside dog here. So we have quarter, 8 notes, and the triplet. And what's fun here is that you can, after that, you can use a bigger expression to surround your smaller expression, and then you can use it to create like augmentations and diminutions. For example, here, if you put 3, it's the normal version, because the first version we have A for a quarter, and then 2 A's for 8 notes, and then cat was a triplet, so it's like 3 beats, like a 3/4. But if we put it over 6 beats, then it becomes an augmentation, twice as long. We could put it really short, over 0.5 of a beat. Repeats are exactly like in ABC notation. It's very easy to read. Here we have 3 times repeated.
You mean 3 times repeated, or repeating and 3 times more?
Repeat this music expression 3 times. The second one, yeah. Okay, so let's look at what I meant by clean syntax. We'll compare Western notation, Lily Pond, and Orfeo for the same little music snippet here. In Lily Pond, you have the 4 and the 8 to write the durations of the notes. They're tied with the data, the type of note. And the tuplets are another way of writing it. Where in Orfeo, tuplets and how fast your notes are, it's basically uses the same system. So here we just need to use parentheses. It looks like beaming almost, which makes it easy to sight read, which was my main goal when I created Orfeo. So Right now, I have the rhythmic system down. I'm creating a voice system, metronomic system, so you could write metronome markings anywhere you want. I showed you variables, repeats. I haven't decided on a license yet. I don't really know what to do with Orfeo, actually. This is something I'm working on with a dancer in Montreal. She wrote a kind of notation for flamenco dance, which is kind of interesting. She uses music notation to write the beats really precisely for 8 notes or triplets. And then on the beats, on the stems of the notes, she attaches little drawings that indicates like body movements. If it's on the left side of the stemlet, it'll mean like on the left side of the body. If it's on the right side of the body. But she wants to be able to write this notation fast, and it's really hard because she has all these graphics. So the Orfeo, it becomes easy. The data becomes the information for her pictures, and then I just use my rhythmic system, and then with that I'll be able to generate her notation. I'm also working on the Kapatihan notation, which is for Gauman music. And some people have started using like UTF-8 characters to write the scores. But it's kind of complicated. You need to combine different UTF-8 characters. It's a little bit hard. So with Orfeo, we can abstract all that and use simple data elements to create a superscript for Kapatihan notation. And I'm also working on a kind of a drum machine, which I can show you a little bit now, which just uses letters, like I'm showing A, for different sounds. So like A would be one sound, B another sound, C another sound. You can have up to like 26 sounds. And then you can organize them using Orfeo. Do you think I can connect the audio a little bit?
Pardon? Audio is best should be this one.
It should work.
Yes. Let's check that. It's switched on, I think. Yes, it should work. If you have sound, I'll check. Have you activated sound on your system?
I see, yeah, I have some.
There's no sound here.
Maybe you should change the output device in Max. The right corner.
Oh,
Right corner.
Right corner for me? She's the master here.
Sorry. Maybe here.
Oh, yeah.
External headphones.
Right.
Maybe it should work now.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, now it should work. Okay. There we go. Okay, so simple sound, the wood block using A. Okay, now for example, creating 8 notes. We can use it like a, yeah, this would be like a rest, exactly. For example, here, let's do deeper here. Put in another sound for fun. I'm just improvising here, not really. Let's take all this that we just did here and put it inside another expression and make it faster. No, very fast. Oh. It was kind of too fast, I think. If you want to try, like for example, let's say you want to know how.
How do you do dotted rim?
How do I do it?
Dotted rim.
A dotted rim. I could do it, for example, like this.
This is painful.
It's painful, yeah. There's something I'm actually thinking. I actually was thinking about that a few days ago, to add something directly to the data, like after the data. But every time I have an idea for Orfeo, it takes a little bit of time to digest it and understand how I'm going to use it. So yeah, this is it's painful right now for the dotted, that's true. But you can try stuff, like if you want to try, for example, let's say 7 against 4. It's gonna have not enough context, but or let's just one last example here.
I want to listen. What's E? Listen to that.
I haven't planned that into the application yet. So here, just going like faster and faster. Something's going on here.
Could you also do a loop here, something like that?
A loop? Yeah, I can just do that. So yeah, that's essentially Orfeo. You can go on the site orfeo.org if you want to see more about the language. There's nothing on the site right now, but I'm going to be putting some stuff pretty soon. And if you want to contact me, you have my email. So thank you so much.
Are there any questions?
I don't know enough about dialects of Lisp to understand kind of if it's embeddable in kind of another Lisp type language. But for example, if treating it like a list, it looks exactly like a list with the maybe caveat that the first symbol, the colon equals,
Yeah.
is not part of a Lisp dialect. I know, but do you know if any, is that overridable? Like, can you define a function that's called colon equal, for example, and then just embed this in a larger context? Or do you need some type of parser that'll parse it and like bring it into a larger Lisp context, like open music I'm thinking of?
Right now, I'm just, like I have my own compiler that I wrote.
I see.
And I'm writing everything pretty much myself. Like one thing I want to do with the language, once I get the basics down, like voices, I need to do the metronome system. After I get the basics down, I want to have a system where I can do like generators, kind of like in Max. Like if I have some series of notes, to do like transpositions, or put them backwards, do things like that. But I haven't really thought about how we could interface with stuff like this. Or,
How do you envisage using this for audio editing?
For audio editing? Well, one thing I want to do is like, let's say you use like Reaper and you want to put your sounds in a DAW. So you have like, you go in your DAW and then you have all your tracks and you take your sounds and you place them. And say you have an idea, you want to place your sounds. It takes a long time. With Orfeo, you could write a program where you use that kind of rhythmic language I was showing you with the names of the sounds you want. And then it would generate like a a file for, you file for Reaper, for example, in Ria script, which would load all your sounds exactly where you want them for you. You could do the same for like video editing, for example.
Do you have any syntax planned or existing for chords and simultaneous things, or did I miss that?
I have a syntax for voices, but I haven't shown it yet because
Okay.
it's not completely finished. But it's pretty simple. It's essentially what I'm thinking of right now is having using brackets, and then, for example, you could have like one voice does this, and then you could separate your voices just with commas. You have like, two voices in this fashion. But this is not implemented yet. I'm not 100% sure yet if this is the way I want to do it, but that's what I'm thinking I can do.
How about pitches and accidentals?
Like I was saying, Orfeo is completely abstract in terms of your data. So that depends on the application, how you want, that's going to use your Orfeo code. So you would have to define what your, once your application, what happens is it just reads the data to give it, and then you have to parse the data how you want it. So you could, like in Orfeo, you can write stuff like this. You could write this for a slash chord if you wanted, and send it to your application. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.